rest, different spots. I'm going to go back in now and reestablish my flowers a little bit more. It's a little bit more red. So this was just a setup for the flowers of getting lost a little bit from the green around, but it's really can be quite beautiful. Now we're going to go in and we're going to find them again. Okay. Don't be afraid to let things run a lot right at the beginning of your painting. If it's not too dark, you can always come back in and reestablish them. But you see, you get these really nice soft edges going when you run them together right at the beginning. Now, some of you might think this is way beyond me. Don't worry about that. Just try to absorb what you can and then paint at the level that you're at. I don't expect everybody to, this takes a while, but it's something for you to shoot for. What's that? Uh-huh. Yeah. Let's get some more of that green going up in here. All right, so how are we going to know these are flowers? The only way you're going to know is because I'll try to make a few flowers down here. Now I'm using a little bit of raw umber. It's a nice graying color. See that brown that's in there now? An oil painter, very good oil painter, Richard Schmidt told me, he says, Eric, look closely into those trees. They're brown. They're not a cold color. The reason that everybody paints them a cold color in those trees is because that's what they see in the photograph. That's not the way. That's not the way it really is. It's really these trees. Inside these trees and inside these bushes, it's like a dark burnt umber, not an ultramarine blue or cobalt or phthalo blue. Right now, right here, I'm going to establish my first edge of a flower, a hard edge, right there. Okay, so now I'm starting. I've got all these soft edges, and now I'm going to start to show some hard ones. And because I've got all these soft edges established, they'll play up nicely against the hard edges that I'm going to start establishing now. And also, the paper's starting to get dry, so I'm starting to also get some crisp strokes. Like down in here. All right. So back in art school, they had this is the way the oil painters would start their paintings, because they always knew they could change them later on. They weren't worried about it. Whereas in art school, even Irving Shapiro and all the students, they would do the watercolors all very controlled, because they were always, knew that there were limitations on how much you could correct. And I used to love the beginning of oil painting class, because you could paint like this, and then I get kind of tired of it afterwards, because you just kind of kept going and going and going. But I thought it would be nice if I could get start my watercolors in the same way that I did my oil paintings, and, which is very loose like this. It took me a while, but I finally realized that you can do that. All right, we're going to have a lot of fun with the sword striper here real soon. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into some deep. Notice all the changes of the greenery here. Phthalo green, olive green, raw umber, raw sienna, raw umber, maybe even a little bit of burnt umber there. All of these changes. So now I'm going to take this moth brush, I'm going to squish it way down like this. Doesn't hurt the brush. And I'm going to take, with very little water, get my green going again. And now it's all splayed out. I can get a lot of texture going here. And pushing it into the paper. And the big challenge for me at this point with painting is not to get too worried about the painting and freeze up on it. I have to keep my mind going and softening it and seeing the whole thing. And I keep pushing my mind to where I keep seeing the whole thing rather than get locked in on any one flower set. So a concept that we've talked about was to paint flat. And if you notice, there's really not much change within these flowers with all the little petals and everything. We're painting flat. I pointed that out on a painting yesterday or two. And I reserved the form for the area of dominance. In other words, little value shifts. Okay. And the reason we do that is because when you show all the little changes within the form, and it doesn't matter what your subject is, you're putting in more value shifts, and that will destroy a painting. So learn to paint flat. And then save your detail or your form for the area of dominance. All right, so we're getting close to finishing this up. Not quite yet, but we're getting close. Okay, here's the fun part with this sword striper. So I'm going to take the sword striper, I'm going to load it up on the back side of it, drag it through the paint so that the brush is full. Don't use the tip to load up the paint, use the back side. Get more water. Okay, so I'm going to come in here really soon and start to bring out my area of dominance. But note how I have reserved from really tightening it up much.
And those telegraphic strokes are your impression of the branching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this right here too.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I think probably what we should do here, rather than be going too far with this, is to let you see this, come up and take a closer look at this point, and take a little bit of a break, let it dry slightly. Then I'll come back in and I'll bring you to that area of dominance, okay?
Yeah, you do. Oh yeah. It's interesting, Eric. I couldn't see a lot of what you meant by shapes, but now I can see them.
Push back a little ways. Yeah.
Squeezes it out into the dirty water. You still haven't used the dirty water.
We continue? Let's finish it up. All right. Okay, so I didn't mention, but there's a porta potty over on the other side of the school. On one side, on the other side, there's a little hose for water for your painting. There's a porta potty on the other side of the church here. A little outhouse with a little moon on it. And
Inside the fenced area?
Inside the fenced area around. Yeah, you can wander around in the church area there. And then also in the back of the past here, there's also a water source too. But if there's not that one there now, I did check over at the church and there's one. All right. So if you notice the painting has met probably our first two objectives, which are we want to catch the viewer's eye at a distance, and we have some big value shifts, clean color, big interesting shapes. Notice how I've combined these flowers, a lot of them into one shape. They're not just little circles. As much as possible, I try to group them. There are a couple of places I have them separate, but I have grouped a couple of them to create more interesting shapes than just little cotton balls. So catch the viewer's eye, we're pretty good on that. Is the viewer's eye going throughout the picture plane? You know, it's pretty good. We've got some vines down in the bottom right-hand corner, inserts in the upper left-hand corner, the flowers on the upper left. So we've got things going on there, but they're not real strong. But we're carrying the viewer's eye throughout the picture plane. But now we need to meet our third objective, which is to bring the viewer's eye to the area of dominance and hold it there as long as possible. So I'm going to do that with hard edges, strong value contrast, are probably going to be the main ones, and then maybe detail too. And what I'll do is I will start to work in this area right here. And I'll start to give some hard edges around some of these flowers, and then fewer and fewer as I work my way out. And that's what I call a progression of dominance. We're not going to just put it all right there and that's it, but there'll be some detail out here, some hard edges, but less and less as we move out. In other words, as we move closer to the area of dominance, edges are going to be harder. Maybe the color might be more intense. We might gray some of these reds, detail, and stronger value contrast. But what I'll do is I will work in this area first and start to bring it up, then adjust the rest of the painting to it. Then come back in here and work a little bit more and adjust the rest of the painting to it. Why would I do that? Think about it. How often do we get over here and we're spending all our time trying to get these little flowers right? And you may get them really detailed and quote right, but because there's so much detail in there, now I'm forced to put even more over here than probably more than I want. So let this drive your painting. Notice also how the green has run into the red in different spots. That gives that variety, that helps to harmonize the painting there. Notice also that the two brushes I've used so far are these two. This one for the line, and then this one, everything else. I splayed it out, I used corners of the brush, use the brush, biggest brush possible for as long as possible. Now I'm going to shift down to maybe my number 5. This might be too small, but let's start out with it. And I'm going to now, this is the first time that I'm going to look a little more carefully at the construction of one flower. And I see that it's not circular at all. It comes up to a point. This flower right here comes up to a point and comes down. Okay, so I'm going to grab that little shape there, and maybe a couple over here, but that'll be my starting point for finding a little more detail here. What am I going to put in behind it? It's some sort of a raw umber, maybe mixed with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green. And at this point, I'm going to make. I don't want much water in my brush. There. See that crisp edge? Boom. Now I'm starting to pull out a flower. I don't go all the way around because it's nice to have a soft edge somewhere in there. There's one. Right there. Okay, now let's put another one in another spot. And it's your choice which ones you want to put in. Don't think it's magical that I find just the exact right spots for them. You get to choose wherever you want to put them in. If you look closely, these flowers are not really lined up exactly the way this is right here. I just picked out several that I thought were interesting. There we go, another hard edge. Now, because I let everything run together right at the beginning here, I've got all these soft edges already established. I don't have to make soft edges. A little bit of phthalo green mixed with maybe a little burnt umber. I'm going to get a nice rich dark here. Right over in here. A few little buds in here too. Now is the time for these really rich darks. I don't get too concentrated on what the painting looks like. Just focus on these big shapes. Alright, so also I'm going to pick out a few. This is the first time I'm going to start to show what we call modeling or form within. Everything else is flat. All these flowers are flat. But now I'm going to start to show you some of the shadow within these flowers. I don't do all of them. I just do a couple of them. A couple of those shadows. Just pick out a few that you like there. Let's push these flowers back in a little ways. Sometimes I look fairly closely at the flower. Other times I look right at my painting and say, no, these flowers need to be pushed back. I don't care what's going on up there. We just need to push them back a little bit. They're a little bit of a distraction. And then as we move out further from my area of dominance, now I start to adjust it to these flowers. But I'm careful to not go too far past that, what I've established there. As we get out here, they becomes less and less. In fact, if you look at that right now, it's probably too much the same. So we're going to take a little bit of this green, kind of run it over that a little bit. In fact, now maybe I'll even adjust the painting a little bit. We're going to get some of that cerulean blue that's in the back here. Run that on down through the flowers slightly because I want these to sit back. And this is all darker than what I have it here. So let's darken that slightly. Cerulean blue mixed with a little bit of my red. What I'm doing is I'm kind of pushing these out a little bit more. Okay, I need a few harder edges in here and then we'll probably call it close to being done. But let's darken this slightly. So you can see that I'm starting to gray my colors a little bit. My more intense colors I'm reserving for over in here. So we can also take a few little buds and things going on in here. Let's put a few of those in. So now I'm utilizing these lights and turning them into buds. So we can turn them into an advantage for us. All right, I'm getting the feeling, I'm not so sure what more to do, so which would indicate that I'm close to being done. I want to just get a few more hard edges. And so now I'm looking very closely at my painting here. Stand way back and see if it reads right.
What was that last color you put in?
That was a cerulean blue, just kind of mixed with whatever was on the palette. I think I'm going to put a couple more hard edges right in here. Raw umber mixed with a little bit of blue. green to drop the value down a little bit. I want some really strong accents here. All right, these little buds with the white around them are getting to be a little bit strong. See if I need another hard edge somewhere. So I'm blocking out certain parts of my painting. If there's might be a light spot that's just a little bit annoying. Right here, come in a little bit darker there. That'll make this part stick out a little bit more. It's a little bit of a distraction there. Just a minute, let's take a look at that in just a second here. Well, okay, we could soften that. All right. We try to accommodate everybody here. How's that? Let's see here. I probably wouldn't. I'm going to gray these down slightly over here, which will push these out a little bit more. A little cerulean blue mixed in with whatever's in the palette here. There we go. So sometimes that's what we have to do is we have to gray something down, let something else become a little bit stronger. Okay, so probably about done here. A few little green things down in here, down in here. I like to finish with strong strokes instead of little niggling strokes. Okay. All right. Well, we stop there before I overwork it. Okay. All right. So, lots of good views down there. I will be back in this general area.